Hi everyone, good morning to this presentation where we will be talking about the learning process and the quality of teaching. Before we jump into the presentation, I would like to talk a little bit about myself. So I studied mechanical engineering in Mexico at the ITQ, so this is Technical Institute of Querétaro. Then in 2005, I moved to Germany where I did my Master of Science in Automotive Engineering at the RWTH Aachen. As qualifications, I'm very close to the automotive industry, so that's why I have a test drive qualification for high speed and limit handling. I also have a German race driving license and also certified as Six Sigma Master Black Belt. So actually, I'm leading the project to open the first German university in Mexico. So this is the TU Querétaro, and we will start with the Bachelor of Science in Automotive Engineering. And we will be offering this course into 3 modules. So the first module is in regards with foundation, where we will be discussing the main subjects such as mathematics, chemistry, statistics, physics, programming, controlling. So everything that all engineers need for some applied science. The second step that we will be covering is the business skills, where we will teach something about program and quality management, also some of the newest tools in the automotive and mechanical engineering industry, and many other industries. So for instance, like Agile, Scrum, and many things about software and hardware development. So hardware development, this was already covered by other studies, but what is new nowadays is the software development. So this is going to be also very explained in our teaching classes. And the last one is automotive skills or engineering, where we'll be focusing on the main subjects for automotive. So for instance, vehicle dynamics, ADAS, powertrain, controls, chassis, body, autonomous driving, electric vehicles. So everything in relation to automotive engineering, we will be covering in this subject. In addition to the classes, something that we would like to do is to develop technology. So that means not only teaching, but we want to change the mindset, and instead of only learning, we want to start developing. So this is something that we will be trying to do with this last block of automotive engineering. And also the advantage of having this type of subsets is that when a new Bachelor of Science in any other branch, so for instance, electronics or production or aeronautics or anything that we would like to offer that is related to automotive or anything that is related to engineering, the only thing that we will be adapting is the last block, which is automotive. So you have the same foundation and business skills for many different branches or many different studies, and then you just change the focus of each branch. So with this information or with this technique, we are able to bring more to the students in an easier way and also more effective. Yeah, because then foundation and business skills, those might be kind of like core items, and then you will be just changing the specifics or technical skills. So going to the main topic of our presentation, how to guarantee the learning process and quality of teaching. And this is over this pandemic situation, the COVID-19. So we were thinking about 5 steps. So the first one is the competition, to see what other universities are doing. The second step, we will go into Agile. And in order to go Agile, we need a subset which is called Scrum. Then we need to measure the performance that we have, and measuring the performance, then we can guarantee quality. So we will go through all these 5 steps in the next slides. So the first one, looking into the competition or other universities, what are they doing? We took one example here. So this is the RWTH Aachen University in Germany, which is an elite university in mechanical engineering. So what do? There is a professor teaching the class, and then you have a group of students. And the different part here, at least at this university, is that there is no checks for assistance and no homeworks. So the students are free to attend classes. They just need to be very well prepared at the end of the semester for one exam, and based on that exam, then you pass or fail. So it's up to the students, free for them if they want to attend, or if they study at their places or home places or whatever. So they are not forced to attend any classes. So this is kind of like more self-learning process, which is actually very effective and has good results at the RWTH Hagen. It's difficult, but has a very, very good results. So of course, this process for us won't work. So because of many different conditions. So actually, the students in Mexico, they are not used to this type of study. So this is something that we wouldn't be able to include like one-to-one. But having this as reference, what we did is we gathered together with the specialists and professors of our university, and then we check the work experience from our professors and the tools that they are using. And based on that, we came out with some conclusions. And that means we can, for instance, include Agile using Jira, the Lean House, and of course, during this pandemic situation, then videos and network. So this is the summary for competition. Now we go to the next slide. So Agile. So for the people who are not so familiar with Agile, we will define a little bit what is this methodology. So this is actually very extensively used during software development. And why? Why is that? Because people working on software development, they need to respond usually very late and to unexpected changes under complex circumstances. So if you can imagine that doing this type of work and not having a good project management is going to be giving you a lot of headache. So as this is a very well implemented method, we would like to include it in our studies. For that, well, there's a manifesto of Agile. And for instance, they prefer individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So this is changing a little bit the way of how people are used to work. The second item is more related to the working principle. So this is working software over comprehensive documentation. It sounds a little bit weird for the studies, but you will see later on the application of Agile. So that means, for instance, in this point, people are more focusing on working solutions rather than writing documentation, which is actually time consuming. The third one is that they do a lot of customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So what do we do? Usually we sign a contract, and then at the end of the day or months or whatever, then the customer gets what actually he supposed or he wants. But going Agile, that means that we have more interaction with the customer. So they know from the very beginning what we are doing, how are we doing it, and we are getting his feedback. Also, another important item is responding to change over following a plan. This is also very different to what main industries are doing nowadays. But this is something that actually during this type of situation is something that we need. So it's a pandemic situation. This is breaking all the things that we knew before, and we need to find new ways in order to achieve this learning process. So the principles of Agile, actually there are 12. We won't go to the 12 of them, but I just want to show to you the most important items that we will take as base or basics for our teaching process. So the first one is the continuous attention. So you need to be always paying attention to what you're doing and how are you doing it, and also with all the team members. The second one is, well, I think you are related to this one, measure of progress. So this is something that we do at any quality project. So we need to measure the progress. Another principle is the constant pace. So with a constant pace, we avoid these up and down hills, which that can translate into workload or underload. And this is something that we want to avoid. So we want to have a constant pace, and this is much better for the learning process. Also, we want to keep it simple. So the the simpler it is the better also for learning. And also another principle of Agile is focus on customer satisfaction. In this case, well, the students need to be satisfied and also they need to learn. Another principle is welcome late changes. So as I mentioned before, if something happens, then we need to be prepared to react quickly. Another one, which is very good, is the working solution. That means weeks over months. So with Agile, you are able to react in a very short period of time, and you have a feedback in a very short period of time. So you don't need to wait months or years in order to change something. So you have a quick feedback, and based on this quick feedback, you are adjusting your pace. And the last one that we consider very important is the trust motivates people. So this is also very important to highlight. So this pandemic situation is not only affecting the university and teachers, but the students as well. So that means the students need to be engaged in this learning process as well. So the third point is Scrum. And Scrum is a subset from Agile. And this can be defined like as a tool to go agile. So that means it's a very rigid method to put agile principles and all the manifesto into practice. And the Scrum is usually a team or teams. So you have the first person who is the process owner, in this case will be the teacher, and this person is defining what has to be learned and the goals of the class. He's also supported by a cross-functional team, and usually it's called the T team because you have a broad people with an expertise. So that's why it's called the T team. So it's not that only the process owner is alone. So he has the support or feedback or also mentoring from this cross-functional team. And then you have, in the end of the day, a master Scrum who is helping with roadblocks. Well, maybe at our university, this won't be so much needed because we have a lean structure, but in any organization who is going agile and using Scrum, they need a master Scrum to help with roadblocks, and this is indeed needed. And well, from the company perspective, a master Scrum usually is a manager, but also very important to highlight here during this Scrum team, everyone is a team member. So that means the master Scrum is not telling the other people what to do. So everyone has a voice and a vote, and based on the team decision, that's how the project is following its path. So that doesn't mean that a person here is leading the other ones. So this is the main difference with Scrum, which is, well, at least to the normal or standard industry that we know, this is completely different. So now how can we apply Scrum? As I mentioned to you, well, the Scrum is consistent of the roles that we just saw before. Is you have your process owner, you have your cross-functional team, and you have your master Scrum. You have ceremonies, which we will just see right now, and the artifacts. The artifacts are the tools that you are using to apply Scrum, and this can be, as you see below, Jira. It can be Microsoft project. It could be kind of like Kanban. You can be using charts. So whatever it helps you to go or to apply Scrum, those are your artifacts. So on the ceremonies, something that is very important is the sprint planning. So that means you need to keep it short. You need to keep a sprint. So it's sprint definition. Well, you have a marathon, and the sprint is kind of like running in a very quick manner in a short period of time. So that means also the project that you're running in a sprint must be short. Then you have a sprint review at the beginning, for instance, which objectives need to be met. And this will be also the same case that we will using for the classes. You have also a sprint retrospective, which is the feedback, something that we also will need to apply. And also you have a backlog refinement. So that means if the plan is not working properly as you were thinking at the beginning, then you can readjust your sprint. And also one of the ceremonies for Scrum application is the daily stand-up. This we might not apply it because, well, it's for a daily class. We might apply it from the point of view that we might ask for feedback more often. So that might be the small difference. So now going to the measurements. As I mentioned before, this is very important to evaluate quality and performance. And well, as you are related to the quality world, well, a measurement can be translated into CPK value, Z value, or DPMO today and after your implementation. So what is today and what is the future? Today we have a late feedback. So at least when I did my studies, I was requested to provide some feedback, but this was at the end of my semester. So after 6 months, I was able to give some feedback to university about the performance of my teacher or professors. What we plan to do in future is to have a quick feedback. So that means 1-2 weeks after one sprint, not to wait until the end of the semester and then, yeah, or maybe you can omit some feedback because you forgot at the end of the semester. So we want to be here very, very quick with the feedback. Also, today we see rigid and complex structure at universities, but at least difficult to change. So this change management methodology is difficult. And as I mentioned to you before, the future, or at least what we are planning, is to have a lean structure. So any changes that we plan to do, they should be easy to perform. Also, what we have today is an all learning methodology, like one way, like kind of like the teacher is telling the students what to learn and how to learn. And what we want to change here is to include the students into some projects and research that our professor will be doing, and also to participate wherever we do in trade fairs as much as possible. Also, what we have today is the old bibliography. At least also when I was a student in Mexico, I also was requested to buy an X-book, and this X-book was the same book as I don't know how many generations before. What are we changing here is that we will be writing our technical books. So some of our professors are working on some research projects and they are publishing what they are doing. And these documents will be put into a technical book and this will be taught to the students. So this is a completely different approach. This is also something that the RWTH is doing in Germany, and this is something that we want to do in Mexico. And also today the process is not guiding the students for a self-learning process, and that's something that we need and we have to do to be, let's say, over videos and over the pandemic situation. We need to motivate students for self-learning process. And also the advantage that we have we have an international office in Germany, which will ease to participate in international trade fairs and also will help the students after studies to move to Germany, for instance, for a master program, for a work experience, for practicals, for thesis, so for many other stuff. That's the reason why we have an international office in Germany. I just wanted to also give you a little bit of the information that was published in Germany about learning online, but this is important to highlight. This is a high school level, and this was, well, performed in Germany. So as you see, the students, around 60%, they find bad to be learning online, and only a small portion finds good and very good to be studying online. So let's say the most of the students are against of learning online. And the teacher's feedback also, learning online is not so good or fabulous, because most of the teachers, they see this as a disadvantage. So 82% missing direct contact with the students. Also nearly the half, they see that the self-learning is not in practice, and 1/3 of the teachers around, well, around 1/3, they see bad habits in the students. Um, Again, this is high school level, but I will presume that we will have the same feedback in Mexico or even worse. So that's why we need to make the students aware that going online is not that easy as it looks like, but having the people motivated and having more contact and feedback, I think we can improve this portion. So our last point is the quality. So we go back to the first question of the presentation, how to guarantee the learning process and quality of teaching. So the answer is very simple. We go Agile using Scrum and also measuring our performance. And how can we adapt Scrum? So we will be converting the learning modules into sprints. So that means, for instance, one subject will have, like, let's say 4 units for the semester, and these four units can be broken down into modules, and these modules can be adapted into sprints. As you remember, sprints should be short and should be planned. You should fix the objectives, and having this breakdown of the studies is much easier to teach, and it is easier also to keep a constant pace. So doing this, we make the objectives clear to the students. We request their feedback, and we adjust the sprint as required. So, and which are the tools that we'll be using? We can use charts to measure the performance for each module, for each subject, for each semester. And we will have some Jira approach. So the Jira tool is a tool which actually this is a tool that allows teams to follow up one issue without being sending emails around. So you can see who's the which person has raised the Jira, which is the item, which people are involved. You can set up a timing. So it's a very comprehensive tool. So we won't have one-to-one Jira, but we will have this Jira approach, so we can follow up any feedback from the students and any changes. And it's clear for everyone, so we don't lose the path of what we are doing or what we need to do. Also, we will need to use video. We will offer live video and also offline videos for the students. And also, at the end of the day, from time to time, if possible, we would like to meet the students in person. So, well, of course, of the pandemic situation, this is an open point, but whenever it's possible, we would like to meet with the students. Another tool that we are using is the keywords. I had keywords actually when I was doing many years ago my black belt certification, and actually this method is just highlighting the most important aspects that we need to understand and to keep in mind. So that means from a very huge material, which is difficult to read sometimes and difficult to memorize everything, but then when you are focusing on the keywords, which is also, this is done by the teacher, or in this case by the process owner from Scrum, is easier, or it will be easier for the students to remember the points that they need to understand, that they need to learn, and the things that they need to keep under consideration. Also, we will be doing some practical projects, and we will include something additional to what we usually have in Mexico. So we will include a mini thesis. So this mini thesis will give the opportunity to the students to work on any small project or research project, and also be part of the of this document and publish it. And also we can include this mini thesis into the technical books from the university. Also, something that we are planning to do is the mentoring reviews and meetings with professors and with the cross-functional team, and we will be inviting also lecture guests. So this is also something very used and done in Germany. So I had the lecture guest, for instance, some years ago from the director from Formula One from Renault many years ago at university. So you get to know this type of people. So it's something that we can kind of easily do in Germany, at least, as we have a lot of contact with the automotive industry here. It's kind of easy for us to invite some experienced people from the field to emphasize any of the important items that we will be teaching at the university. And as I mentioned, we will do the short test and evaluation after each sprint. And doing this, then we can guarantee the learning process and quality of teaching. I really appreciate your attention at this presentation. I hope it was clear to you. If you have any other questions, you can reach us at our webpage, or you can also write us an email. So you can find the contact people at the webpage. And I really appreciate your attendance. So have a nice day and see you next time. Goodbye.